Okay, so let us jump into the news. We have, oh man, I also started late. So we don't have a lot of time. We got a lot to cover. So let's jump into it. Before we discuss the patch, I do want to talk about the other piece of news today, which is the We Stand Together post. So CCP has in times past done a thing called PLEX for Good. PLEX for Good allows us to turn in PLEX to CCP, and they take the value of that PLEX and they donate it to the charity that we are fundraising for. This is generally reserved for incredibly deserving situations, disasters, hurricanes, the Australian brush fire, and COVID-19. And historically, we have raised a lot of money, and some really good stories about this has come out of it. For instance, for I think it was the brushfire one, we had Keldon Darklight sell his golden magnate to what's his name, Scott Manley, for over 1 billion plex, and or million plex, billion plex would be a lot. And also we have a lot of other organizations. What I like about it is a lot of these guys that make a ton of money, like for instance, the Wolf Fleet pack, which isn't as big of a deal now, I don't think, as they were at one point, but they make a ton of money out of Wolf Riot wormholes. And what they did was they dedicated an entire session to raising money for the PLEX for Good campaign, and other examples like that. So I really like the idea that we can turn our, we always like break ourselves with efficient ISK generation and all this stuff. And it's it's one of the reasons that it can be turned into something good. So either way, CCP game stands in support of the people of Ukraine and joins in the international call to end the violence and restore peace in the region. We are devastated by the terrible situation unfolding, and our collective thoughts are with all of those affected by these distressing events. Like our community, CCP employees come from many countries, including both Ukraine and Russia. We are joined with them in our shared grief and dismay at the conflict that is taking place. As a measure of practical support, CCP will be launching a new PLEX for Good program to contribute towards humanitarian relief efforts by raising money for those suffering in the conflict. CCP will match donations from the EVE community and our employees up to a total of $250,000. I don't think they did that in previous iterations. This campaign will be going live later this week, and players can make a contribution by contracting their spare PLEX to the in-game character CCP PLEX for Good. A couple things. First of all, this doesn't actually specify how this money is going to be used. Hopefully we will get more details about that very soon. And then furthermore, this character, CCP PLEX for Good, it is worth noting that any attempt to scam or pretend to be, or have a name that's anywhere close to any of that kind of shenanigans in relationship to PLEX for Good, you will get banned, you will get tarred and feathered, and the entire community will be mad at you. I'm not joking. This is not one of those things that you even want to play a little bit lightly about. But this is the PLEX for Good character that you'll be able to send your PLEX to have it counted for you. And usually they have some pretty good rewards, like SOE shirts and stuff like that, for those who participate. All right. Sorry, proceeding. In this time of strife, our heart goes out both to the Ukrainian community and our Russian community, who, like everyone else, are ordinary people that want no part in war. Over the last week, we have been heartened to see the reaction from the EVE community to the conflict in Ukraine. Alliance leaders across EVE Online posted announcements in support of players from both Ukraine and Russia, and calls on their members to leave real-world differences outside the game. Moreover, we've seen some movements form to agree to not interfere or even defend in-game assets of Ukrainian-run corporations while they're unable to do it themselves. In these times, it is important to remember our communities and our commonalities and shared purpose, not just as gamers, but as people. Please, Capsuleers, when you're in New Eden, remember to treat your fellow pilots with the same care and humanity, no matter where they come from. Everyone at CCP sincerely hopes that we see an end to this conflict very soon. In the meantime, we know that the best way to get through this is by supporting one another. So true. So true. In the same way that we have to leave our in-game conflicts in-game, we got to leave our out-of-game conflicts out-of-game, right? Like, we're all in this gosh darn sludge pit of a hole together in the end. Darn right, Slava Ukraini. I don't know how to pronounce it correct. I'm sure I didn't just pronounce it correctly, but the sentiment's there.